Happy Friday, everybody, and welcome to another episode of CTLN Opinion Plus. This is a space for our opinions where we talk about the current events and questions concerning the Latino community. Today, we have one of Hartford's own, Dr. Leslie Torres Rodriguez. She is the superintendent of the Hartford School District. Before that, she was the assistant superintendent for instructional leadership, where she provided culturally courageous leadership to a network of 11 schools. Welcome, Dr. Torres Rodriguez. Thank you very much for joining us today.
Oh, you're very welcome, Savani. Thank you for having me.
And the initial plans to resume the school were supposed to be on the 8th, but they were delayed because of a cyber attack. What happened?
Yes. So last week, we did start classes for both our in-person and online students on Wednesday, September 9th. It was one day later than we had originally planned because of the unexpected and very sophisticated ransomware cyber attack that disrupted our entire computer systems, several critical systems. And so by now, most of our systems have been restored, and students began their second week of classes today. But during that first week, students did return on a staggered schedule with different grades returning on different days so that we can kind of ease the transition back to school.
What a plan. I was going to ask you, how did your first week go? But it seems like you had it pretty structured.
We did. We worked really hard leading up to the opening of schools with all of the guidelines, with lots of protocols in place. We have our decision to return to in-person and online learning is based on both state guidance and the preferences of our families. And so we're working really close with our local health departments to make sure that we continue to monitor any changes in the external health conditions.
Right. Connecticut is luckily, and because of hard work, one of the states that has very low numbers of coronavirus cases, but large groups are still a bit daunting, I guess would be the right term. What were some measures that you took in place for the teachers to keep them safe?
Yeah, so we have provided our staff with all of the protective equipment, from masks to face shields to gloves to sanitizers. Same thing for our students. And we continue to encourage and educate not only our staff, but our students and our families about the importance of maintaining good hygiene as well. Continuous hand washing, making sure that our students are cohorted. That means that in our grades pre-K through 9th, we're keeping students in the same groups throughout the day, because we know that that is one of several steps that we can take to mitigate and reduce the spread of the virus.
Do you know the ratio of students that opted to go in compared to those that opted to stay home?
Yes, so the majority of our students and families opted to stay home. And by majority, I mean 50, we range between 55 to 57%. We know for sure that about 37% of our student population elected to be in-person learning. And there was a difference of about 1,700 students thus far that Savani, we just can't seem to get a hold of our students or families. And so we are counting those students. We have planned for those 1,700 students to also be in-person learning. And so that makes it, closer to about 6,500 students that we're expecting to be in our schools for in-person learning.
Right. And those people that you can't contact, are they, is it because of internet connection? Why is there this amount of people that can't be contacted?
So first, I will say that I'm grateful because of the hard work that we've done to connect to as many students as possible. Just a few weeks ago, there were about 3,000 students that we could not connect with, despite numerous attempts throughout the summer. However, we know that there could be a variety of reasons. So, for example, that families either change their contact information, they either move or they change their phone number, and they don't necessarily share that with us. We have other situations in which our families are transient, right? They move regularly and they don't necessarily get to share the new residence or information with us. There are families that also have additional challenges. Some of our families have housing insecurity. And so we want to make sure that we do our due diligence and we do our home visits and we connect with our community partners that also support our families to see if we can ultimately connect with the family and then begin to work on engaging the family and the student.
Speaking of engaging with students, you also, well, the Hartford School District provides meal distribution to students. Can you tell us a little bit about that program and that initiative and how somebody could sign up for it if they aren't already?
That meal distribution is something that we're also very proud of, and that began very quickly in the spring when we shut down the schools. And so where we are today, actually beginning on the first day of school last week, we resumed our meal distribution for our online and our hybrid students. So students can pick up their meals. We have a variety of sites throughout the city. The student just needs their student ID, their lunch number, and the meals are distributed on Tuesdays and Thursdays at different sites. And we have all of that information, Savani, posted on our schedule. The meal bags include both breakfast and lunch, and they're frozen so that they can be heated at home. Our food services department provides nutrition with significant contributions from our local sources, which makes it healthy and wholesome for our students.
That's a great option. I know for some kids, they rely heavily on the school meals. So I think it's great that the Hartford Public School District is providing this even during the pandemic. That's great.
I will tell you, Savani, one of the things that we had to make sure that we got right way in the spring was that the meal distribution and the plan for that. I remember having a conversation with the mayor back in March about closing schools, and I said, Mayor, we cannot close schools yet. Just we're going to make sure that we have a plan for our families, because just what you said, it is so important, access to quality foods for our families and students, that we just could not let that go unresolved before closing schools.
Right. And another resource you have for families, and I think for parents, is the Parent University, I think it's called.
Yes,
right?
That is a great partnership that we have. Our Hartford Parent University, they're our partners in our work to provide high quality teaching and learning, to make sure that we develop meaningful partnerships with our families. They help us in a variety of ways. They help provide what we call capacity building. That is trainings for our families on how our families can be advocates, how our families can support their child learning at home, how our families and our parents can be involved and have a voice in the budget process for our schools and for our district. They have helped us create, alongside of our parents and our community partners, our strategic plan and our priorities for the district. We are fortunate to have them and so many other partners in our efforts to make sure that we deliver and do right by all of our students and our families.
That's great. I do have a question. As someone that learned English primarily at school, I have to say that the most learning that I did as a child was it through communication with classmates. Um, have you seen any sort of disparity in the learning of English amongst young kids that choose to stay home?
I will tell you, Savani, that when we look at our data, both data in terms of engagement, students' level of engagement in the spring, we learned a lot. We also learned a lot from what our students and our families were also telling us. And one of the groups that was least engaged in online learning, it was our English learners. We learned that it's harder for a variety of reasons. Our students tell us that they want to engage in the social aspect of learning. And as you know, you and myself also, right, as English learners, as someone that learned English as their second language, the conversational piece is key, right? There's the listening, there's the speaking, and there's the writing. Those are all part of the learning process for English learners. And so it was important for us to provide an in-person option as well. The other thing that we learned and that we have improved upon in the spring, the learning the teaching was delivered in an asynchronous way. And what that means is that teachers, and they worked really hard to post assignments and videos, but it wasn't synchronous. It wasn't live like you and I are doing right now. That's changed. We're so proud. I'm so proud of the hard work that our teachers and our staff have been doing, because we got to get better and we got to learn more. And so now the way in which our students are learning is through live instruction, and it allows for not just our English learners, but all of our learners, right, to engage in that added level of interaction, peer interaction with their teacher, and with their peers as well.
Right. So this is the last question. We are a news organization for Latinos, and what are some resources that the Latino community need to know about the Hartford Public School District?
Oh, that's a great question. So all of our communication to families and email or by phone are translated in Spanish. I certainly am one of those that shares the Spanish messaging to our families. Staff in our welcome center and el Centro de Bienvenida can also communicate with families in Spanish. And to ensure equity, our teachers and staff will identify every Hartford Public School student that is learning English, including students who have a learning disability. And we're just committed to making sure that either our English learners or our students with exceptionalities receive the supports, regardless of whether they're in-person learning or fully remote. Our English learners will be provided support services by certified teachers or staff who are trained to work with students that are learning English. Bilingual and our English language support teachers will work with our classroom teachers to ensure that students are making progress at grade level. And they will also create a language acquisition plan for all identified students so that we can keep track of the progress, and so that we can also support the language goals of our students.
Well, that was really informative. Thank you for telling us, and thank you for joining us. I'm sure it's a busy, busy time for you with school just beginning.
It is a busy time for everyone, and so we always make time to make sure that we connect with our community. So I am so grateful for the opportunity. Muchas, muchas gracias.
Yeah, thank you for being here. That's all for us this week. Tune in next week for another episode. Follow us on Twitter at CT Latino News and Instagram at CT_Latino News. I am Savani Campos with CTLN Opinion Plus. See you next time.